Every day, Melaka gets thousands, if not tens of thousands of visitors, and many of them would flock to this place, this massive heritage site, which is known as Stadthuys, which is part of the Red Square. Stadthuys was built in the 1650s by the Dutch, and its name means a municipal town hall, and it was the longest serving official building with an unbroken history of 360 years. Hey you, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and welcome back if this is not your first visit. And today we are not going to do a foodie vlog. Well, my channel is all about food and drinks, but occasionally I do make an exception, especially when it comes to a gem of a place like this one. You always see throngs of visitors standing right in front of Stadthuys and also the Christ Church on the Red Square, taking lots and lots of photos, but very few actually venture inside. Originally, Stadthuys was built as the office and residence of the former Dutch governor and his deputies. Centuries after we said Selamat Jalan to our colonial masters, well, Stadthuys has seen part of it being turned into a history and ethnography museum on the first floor, and also hiding in this low corner we have another museum which people rarely visit. The museum is accessible through this very pretty courtyard which you've seen earlier. And the first thing that greets you right towards the end of it is this gigantic statue of Admiral Cheng Ho. The history of Melaka is peppered with legendary names like Parameswara, Hang Tua, Hang Jebat, Hang Lekyu, Hang Lekir, Hang Kasturi, Sultan Mahmud, and even Alfonso de Albuquerque, but not much is said about Admiral Cheng Ho. Although I must admit that when I was in Sekolah Menengah, that's the secondary school, his name was mentioned in the history book. Admiral Cheng Ho, whose Chinese name was Ma He, Ma being a very popular forename amongst the Hui Chinese in China. The Hui Chinese are the Muslim Chinese. And the Chinese name of Ma is equivalent to the name Muhammad. And yes, Cheng Ho was a Hui Chinese, a Chinese Muslim. According to the history books, Admiral Cheng Ho made 7 voyages from China between 1405 and 1433, and out of the 7 voyages, he visited Melaka 5 times. No doubt, Admiral Cheng Ho was the instigator of the ancient maritime Silk Road. Well, did I mention that this is a museum? My apologies, it's not. It's actually named as a gallery, the Admiral Cheng Ho Gallery. Okay, let's come in and have a little look around at this not often visited gallery within this impressive complex of Stadthuys. The whole architecture of this gallery blends in with the surrounding, and first you need to climb a short flight of stairs that leads you up to here. This small gallery pays homage to Cheng Ho, who was remembered for his role in spreading Islam, and he built mosques, temples, shrines, museums, and although remember, that in the Ming Dynasty under Yongle the emperor, China then had military resources to conquer other nations just like the Europeans, but they never did. Instead of using their military might, China chose to forge the peaceful relationships using Cheng Ho as a diplomat. Way back in 1982, it was reported in the Australian media that the navigational charts of Admiral Cheng Ho were found, and they concluded that the Australian continent was first discovered by Admiral Cheng Ho and not the widely thought British explorer James Cook. The navigational charts, coupled with the wrecks found, like anchorage and also fishing nets, fishing gear, and carved stones and Chinese jades, and not forgetting the Aboriginal drawing on the cave walls, seem to point to that direction. The tales of the colorful voyages of the legendary Admiral Cheng Ho traveled far and wide, even to the Middle East, where he was immortalized in the folklore, the storytelling of the Book of 1001 Arabian Nights. It's mind-blowing to think that some historians and also the National Geographic have suggested that the name Sinbad was a mispronunciation of Cheng Ho's royal household name, which was San Bao, which means 3 jewels. When you walk into this gallery at first glance, it doesn't seem to be a very big place, but if you were to read every single accompanying notes to the artifacts and have a good look around, you will need definitely an hour or two to spend in it. Another plus point, well, it's situated in such a comfortable nook just behind the main Stadthuys complex that it provides a very nice respite from the scorching sun outside. I couldn't find much information about the early life of Cheng Ho, well, from his boyhood onwards, except the fact that he was born in the year of 1371 in the province of Yunnan in southwest China. Admiral Cheng Ho's great-great-great-grandfather was a very prominent man in Yunnan. In fact, he was the governor of Yunnan during the Yuan dynasty. It was reported that both his father and grandfather made a very long and arduous overland journey to Mecca, the most holy site for the Muslims, and Admiral Cheng Ho grew up speaking both Chinese and Arabic at home. After the Yuan dynasty, the Mongol dynasty, came the Ming dynasty. At the tender age of 10, Admiral Cheng Ho entered the imperial household as a promising young servant. As he grew older, he was chosen by the imperial household to go on a series of military operations, which turned out to be very successful. A very tenacious Cheng Ho worked his way up files and ranks and eventually became the supreme commander of the imperial household. It's simply mind-blowing. Well, for 28 years, Admiral Cheng Ho commanded an armada of ships westward of China 7 times, and he traveled over 50,000 kilometers and visited 37 countries. Cheng Ho was always pushing the envelope, pushing the boundary, traveling further and further westward towards Ceylon, Arabia and East Africa. With his mighty armada, the head count of his crew came up to a whopping 27,000 sailors and soldiers. China's greatest navigator made an expedition to the Persian Gulf in the year of 1433, and sadly he died en route home, and he was eventually buried in Nanjing in China, and that's where you can find his tombstone. Well, I didn't feel comfortable discarding any of my video footages of the Admiral Cheng Ho Gallery here in Malacca. I just want to use all of them, and so I apologize for this pretty lengthy vlog of mine. I've really enjoyed my visit to the Admiral Cheng Ho Gallery, and I hope that you did too on this vlog. And I'm Gobble Guzzle. Coming up next, I promise you it will be back to a foodie vlog. And I'll talk to you again. Until then, be kind always. Spread the message of peace. Jumpa lagi. Bye-bye.